Hello guys, welcome back to Things They Won't Say. I'm your host Linus.
And I'm Sai.
Sorry that we took a week off, but we're back with our 6th episode. This one is a Halloween special, and we are filming it on Halloween, so if you hear a doorbell in the background magically somehow, that's little kids who aren't getting candy at my house.
Yeah. Didn't even bother to put out a bucket.
Okay, listen, it's not an obligation, I feel like.
I think it is. I don't know. I think you should at least put out a bucket.
Okay, I get, putting out a bucket, but, I don't have a door cam. Some kid's totally gonna take the bucket.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, you're gonna tell me a kid's not gonna just go, take that bucket,
No.
that's mine.
No. People don't take the bucket, they take the bucket of candy.
No, people actually take the... You've never seen that?
Heard of that?
Okay, I've never done it, but I've had friends who, if it says take one, they go, okay, and they take the bucket.
Take one bucket.
Because that's, that's their joke, that's, the joke about it. You've never heard that?
No. I've never heard that. On the way driving over here, I was driving my brother. I dropped him off at someone's house. There was a take one bucket, and he was like, pull over. I want to take some. I was like, all right, and he jumped out, grabbed a handful, and then jumped back in the car, and we just left.
Take one handful. I mean,
free candy.
You gotta specify more because kids are, including us, we're so technical. We'll be like, loophole, and just grab whatever we want.
It could say take one candy, and kids would just...
I mean, yeah, then they're just bad, though. If you can, limit the guilt, I feel like if you're like, oh, well, they didn't specify.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, that's how I always do. As a little kid, I was like, take one. Okay, take one handful. 5 pieces of candy, no big deal. You know?
Who cares?
But no, I feel okay, I get it's an obligation in a sense that, it's a big cultural holiday. It's, what, isn't it the second largest, money spending? Only to Christmas, right?
It is the second largest for, yeah, only second to Christmas.
On economic spending.
In terms of economic spending, yes.
So, wow, that's so much money that we're putting out on candy. Don't get me wrong, I love Reese's. I love Kit Kats. Also, if you call them Reese's, I hate you.
Just Reese's?
It's Reese's.
No, it's Reese's.
Grammatically speaking, it is the name Reese with an apostrophe S. So if you have a friend named Reese, and they're holding a bag or something, you go, that's Reese's bag?
Dude, no one cares this
It's
much.
Reese. I'm just saying, it bothers me so much. It is Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and they're the best candy by far.
Really good.
They're actually, they are the number one, ranked candy on a lot of lists for people.
I would be interested to see, the number one ranked candy, ever.
I know candy corn, people crap on it, but dude, I love candy corn.
What?
What? You don't like candy corn?
I think it's fine.
Okay,
I can take it or leave it.
Hey, you know what? I respect you for that, because you're not a hater.
I think that, I don't know, candy corn is just kind of it's wax.
I don't think so. Okay, well, I always grew up because, we'd eat it at my grandma's house, because she had candy corn year-round.
It's good.
And, so it was it was a snack.
I can take it or leave it. I don't really care.
I dig candy corn. I don't know. It's just a personal thing. Now, the pumpkins are much better, though.
The candy pumpkins?
The candy corn pumpkins. Have you ever had those?
No.
It's, basically candy corn, but they just taste better just because it's in pumpkin shape. It's the same thing with, with Reese's Cups, the normal ones compared to the pumpkin ones and, the egg ones, those ones are better. I don't know why. They're creamier because they don't have that rough edging of, the normal Reese's Cup, I feel like. So everything just goes down smoother, and it just tastes better to me for some reason. So I know that it's the same ingredients, but I just feel like it might be a different ratio of chocolate to peanut butter too, more peanut butter.
I'm no candy expert.
I'm a huge Reese's junkie.
You could talk to, I don't know, people who manufacture it.
Yeah, fair enough. But no.
There you go.
So handing out candy, it's a big deal, I guess.
I feel like you should. Now, obviously, if you can't afford it, don't break the bank. But I mean, you can go to the Dollar Tree
and get a few bags
and get a couple bags. And even if you're if you couldn't care less about Halloween, just put a bucket out there.
Yeah.
And even if kids do take it, you know what? You tried.
See, I will say the thing about handing out candy, there's a lot of fun things you can do with it. Okay, so at my old house, what we would do is, we had a speaker that we put inside a fake cauldron, and it would play ambient, Halloween music. So it'd be like groans and ghostly noises and all sorts of ghouly things. And we had a few things on our porch. And then my dad painted his hand green. And so he had a bucket with a handle. And so if you rang the doorbell, he'd slowly creak the door open and just reach out the green hand with the bucket.
That's funny.
And he'd leave it right in the doorway sometimes. And legitimately little toddlers cried because it scared them. The amount of things you can do for little kids to get them so hyped up. I think that's the best part about Halloween.
It's for the kids.
It's for little kids because otherwise it's just an excuse to party for people our age and up. Really, I feel like. But I mean,
it's fun. It's fun. It's all fun and games. It's just all Halloween is. It's just supposed to be fun.
Tricks and treats,
fun.
right? Tricks and treats.
Yes. Tricks, treats, and goodies.
Speaking of tricks, dude. Okay, you gotta run down like the rumor jokes and everything.
Okay. So, a big thing that I always hear, and that
we've all heard
parents, yeah, everyone hears it, right? And especially a lot of parents get worried about it.
Check your candy.
Yes, check your candy, right? I think the big thing a lot of parents fear is like razor blades.
The razor blade apples.
Razor blade apples. Now, I don't know how hard it is because I've never actually attempted this, but I can imagine it's pretty difficult to put a razor blade in an apple and actually have it be concealed. Right?
You're right.
I mean, because like apples, especially firm ones, right? They're pretty difficult to like get anything into it. Right? I mean, like they're pretty firm. So if you get a razor blade, I would imagine that, especially one that's dual-ended.
I feel like you'd see like the cut in the apple too.
So
I don't get why that was always like a thing that people worried about.
Yeah.
And like check your candy. Like okay, if the wrapper's open, don't eat it. That's like logic. But no one's gonna find a way to like poison the inside of your candy. I feel like no one's demented enough to just want to like. Well, okay, I can't say that. People are demented.
Yeah, people are stupid.
But I don't feel like, especially where we live, like we live in a nicer area. I don't see someone poisoning candy for like little children.
Yeah, for just and another thing is like cyanide, that people put like cyanide in candy, and then obviously kids would eat it and then die. So the statistics on how many kids have died, I want to say since like the 1980s maybe, and I'm not going to get the exact year right, but from whatever X year. Right.
Yeah.
Only 2 kids have died from poisoning of candy, and both were because of their family members. So like their uncle killed their nephew.
That's messed up.
Yeah. So there hasn't been a single instance of anyone dying because of a stranger on like poisoning their candy.
Okay, speaking of like causing like legal issues with murder.
Good transition.
Good transition. Yeah. Obvious. Segues. They're weird. No. So, does it bother you, like, okay, so we're 17.
Yes, we are.
If we go out and trick-or-treat and people judge you, does that make you mad too? Because, like, I could be doing so much worse than trick-or-treating and asking you for candy. Like, at 17, I'm not egging a house, I'm not TPing trees,
I get it.
I'm not getting drunk at a party, I'm, like, asking for candy and dressing up.
I get it.
Like,
I mean, it's a Halloween, it's a Halloween, it's a holiday tailored towards children. And I understand there's kind of like a stigma around it, but at the end of the day, who cares?
Exactly. Like, I get mad when people judge me because I went trick or treating last year when I was still 16, and like people gave me weird looks. Like I tried to like make it less awkward. Like so, like last year I did the mailman outfit, so I dressed up as like a mailman, had like a bag, and I had a ton of just like letters that handwritten on them were Happy Halloween. Mm-hmm. So when I got given candy, I'd give them a paper that says Happy Halloween. I definitely had a few people just go, don't give me anything. What are you doing? This is creepy. And, like, force it back on me. But I was like, I'm just trying to give back and, like, have, like, a fun time with it. Like,
I mean, no, I totally get where you're coming from. Who cares? I don't know. It's just, like, there are worse things you could be doing on a Halloween night than dressing up.
And asking for candy and walking around.
I don't know. And I mean, I don't know. It's just weird.
It's weird that, like, people get judged for being older and going out and doing it.
So speaking of older kids, like, dressing up, a couple states have banned and made it illegal for kids over, like, I think the age of 14 to go trick-or-treat. I think Alabama is one of those states as well.
Why?
I don't know.
Why? Especially Alabama. You already live in the middle of nowhere. What are you going to go do? Like, that is, like, give them that opportunity to go do something instead of, like, sitting out in the countryside with, like, a beer and a shotgun. Like,
beer and a shotgun. There
like,
you go.
No. It just, that's not smart. It keeps kids out of trouble if you, like, drop the stigma around trick-or-treating, I feel like. It's just, ugh. And, like, also with, like, stigma, like, people, like, why can't we dress up at school anymore? Like, why don't people do that?
I mean, and I completely agree. No one thinks of Halloween as a religious holiday.
Exactly. It's a cultural thing. It's been absorbed as a cultural holiday.
No one, if you could literally take a poll, had you not been taught about the history of Halloween, which I think we'll talk about here in a moment, you would have no idea that it is a religious holiday.
No idea.
There aren't any religious symbols.
Nothing.
There's nothing really religious about it. It's just dumb fun. And I get it. Schools always have to walk on eggshells, right?
But yeah, like
the whole thing.
And like some teachers like still do dress up. Like the teacher I cadet for like cadet teaching, she like wore a wig today because her daughter didn't want to wear it for her outfit, so she put on like a blue hair wig.
Yeah.
And like it was funny. And a chem teacher at our school dressed up as Frankenstein, had full face paint today. Mm-hmm. And so like he was like there were like videos of kids in his class like asking what was on the board, and he would just go and point at it, and like that's fun, that's cool. But like we have such a stigma around it. Like even if it's allowed at your school, no one does it anymore.
Well,
it's not like encouraged, and that's the sad thing. Because like Halloween's such a fun holiday. I feel like
it is. It's so much fun.
It's like top 3 for me. Like it's gotta be. Like what are my top 3 holidays? Probably like 4th of July, Christmas, and Halloween. Not in any specific order.
I would say Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving's up there. Yeah. Honestly, Christmas might get booted out of my top 3.
Why?
Halloween, Thanksgiving, and 4th of July. 4th of July, I grew up with like a ton of fun times during the holidays. Because, okay, my neighbor could get free ice cream because she worked in an ice cream plant. Do you remember what dibs were?
Yeah.
They still have them. So we got like 40 free tubs of dibs. And they like were also really smart people, so they'd make firework boards. So we'd have a huge set of boards set up, light it, have a 2-hour show from lighting like the board once, and just sit there and eat your dibs.
That's awesome.
So 4th of July was always awesome for me. And then, like, Thanksgiving, I'm a foodie. And Halloween is just, like, the spirit of it. Christmas, like, close 4th.
Are there any good spring holidays?
I mean, like...
You have Easter.
Like, yeah, the cultural side of it's still fun for me. Because, like, I'm not religious, but, like...
Do a lot of people celebrate Easter?
When I was younger, we did, and it was just, like, for fun. We'd do something. So we played Deal or No Deal, but with eggs. So it was called Egg or No Egg, and I won a trip. So like my parents, were like, you could win from 1 penny to a trip to like Kings Island with the family. That's like the range of like things.
Yeah, that's cool.
So like I won like $50 when I was like 6 years old.
That's cool.
And I was like, money in the bank.
Like I'm rich.
Dude, it was the best.
Mom,
so like,
Dad, I got the rent.
But yeah, so like Halloween like needs to have more spirit again to it. I feel like.
I mean, as I was driving over here, I kind of noticed that like no one decorated.
Some people in my neighborhood, but not a lot. Like we didn't even decorate, and I feel guilty like not doing it.
Yeah,
because like we moved into a new house and like the yada yada, but like being able to get decorations up, like it's something that I feel like we should have put a little more effort into, and I feel guilty personally for being part of that. Because like when I was younger, we went all out. Like so we used to do family based costumes, so we'd all dress up as a theme. So like when I was a little kid, I was the poison apple, my sister was Snow White. I forget who my dad was, and my mom was like the witch, and like we like would dress up. Then I was like the cowardly lion from like Wizard of Oz. My sister was Dorothy. I forget who my mom was. My sister might have been a Munchkin, and my mom was Dorothy. It was like we did stuff like that. We like dressed up as like Dracula and all sorts like the Dracula family, like Harry Potter people. My favorite one though, we dressed up as Scooby-Doo characters. So my sister was Velma, my mom was Daphne, my dad was what's his name, Fred? Yeah, and I was Scooby. And my uncle was Shaggy, so I was in a dog costume, and I went on all 4s at times and walked around like a freaking dog. And so we had put window decals on our van and like played the Monster Mash with the windows down while we drove by like places. So it was like we had the Mystery Machine. Like we had so much spirit when I was younger, and I kind of miss that, you know?
Yeah,
so
Halloween used to be great.
Halloween was like the highlight holiday of childhood. I feel like
it was great.
It was so good.
Halloween is fantastic.
But yeah, so like family traditions like that were always cool. So, okay, so like give the background since you just relearned about it. I've learned about it a few times, but you're fresh off the block about learning about this at school.
I'll kind of talk about a little bit of like the history of the Halloween. Okay, so way back when, I think the basis of Halloween started around like present day Ireland.
Yeah.
Back then they were known as like the Celts, I believe.
Yeah.
Right? Anyways, so this was during like the medieval era.
Yeah, like the Dark Ages.
Yeah, the Dark Ages. So during so a part of their culture was they believed that during the high winter solstice, or whatever the heck it's called, where like it is the shortest day of the year, and from that day on, it's kind of like winter or whatever, something like that. I'm no astrologist. They believe that...
I think you're talking fall equinox on
Yeah.
the days start to get shorter, yeah.
Yeah. They believe that the world of the dead and the world of the living would, like, overlap a little bit. And then, like, so the living and the dead could kind of cross. And so they believe that's what we celebrate Halloween now as. And they believe that if you weren't careful, if you went off the beaten path or whatever, you could run into monsters and you could be sucked into the world of the dead.
Yeah. And so that's why costumes started, right?
So this is why costumes started. They celebrated this by having a huge bonfire. They would take an ember of this bonfire off back to their homes. So what you would see is, if you were like a peasant during this time, you'd be walking back to your homes, and at this time you believed that there were monsters about.
Yeah.
So, like, kind of off in the distance, you would be hearing, owls hooting, you hear the rustling of the leaves or whatever, and you'd see, like, weird animals. Like,
you'd be like, shit, it's a monster.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, shit, it's a monster. And then you'd see, like, your other fellow peasants, but you'd be like, no, it's a monster, because you're crazy. And so you take that ember home, and then you would light a fire, and the idea was that you would use that ember to have the fire and make it through the winter and not die.
Yeah, so it would be like how you start your fire for the rest of the winter.
Yeah,
okay.
It would be how you start the fire for the rest of the winter. So this idea kind of evolved, and later on, they started dressing up as, they started using, like, animal
the
hides,
skulls.
antlers, skulls, to
blend in, right?
Blend into the monsters. Because if you look like a monster...
The monsters aren't going to be like, hey, that's a human, get him.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, that's a monster. So this made it worse, though, because as you were walking home, you would see weird figures...
That are just your neighbors.
that look like monsters, but they were just, dill hanging out.
Bobby, just chilling there with his deer skull.
So, then the Catholic Church came around, and they had All Souls Day, All Saints Day, and Halloween. And they used Halloween to kind of have pagan religions.
Because they didn't they put All Souls Day on November 1st? Is that tomorrow?
All Souls Day, I believe, is November 1st, and All Saints Day, I believe, is November 2nd.
Okay, I think you're right. I think you're right on that.
I could be wrong.
So it's like, and now, they got the name Halloween because it's Hallows Eve, right?
Yeah, it's Hallows Eve.
Eve, which is the day before All Souls Day.
Yeah. So they used Halloween as a way to kind of blend in Catholicism with pagans.
So it was like, it's the trick of overlapping your holidays, so then people celebrate yours because it's around the same time. So they're like, oh, we'll celebrate with you, and then it's like a conversion trick.
They're slowly trying to.
It's a conversion tactic.
Yes, exactly. So when people first started coming to America, most were Protestant because most of our ancestors were English, right?
Yeah.
So Halloween was very much hated by the Protestants.
It was a no-go.
Because Protestants didn't want anything to do with Catholicism for the most part at the time. So when they came over, Halloween wasn't a thing. And it stayed that way until a lot of Irish and Catholic immigrants came over during the Irish Potato Famine.
Which was, what, 1890s?
1848.
And then when all the immigrant workers came in, like, through the Industrial Revolution, it just kept getting bigger.
Yep, it was very big in, like, New York, because that's just where a lot of
the immigrants were. The Northeast would have been just packed,
Northeast, Yep. And so it started in there, and it wasn't like, you would go trick-or-treating. It wasn't like that. It was kind of just like an excuse to get together, drink, tell scary stories, just kind of get all together and celebrate.
Yeah.
And then throughout the 90s, it started kind of just bleeding into American society, and it started to become more of an adult holiday. You wouldn't see kids dressing up. You wouldn't see like a whole lot of that. You wouldn't see trick-or-treating. It was a lot of just adults hanging out, drinking, telling stories, and all that. And then around the 80s is when, and maybe a little bit before, was when it really started to become, like, kid-friendly. And kids would dress up.
That's when you had, like, parades, and, like, the schools got involved. And okay, that makes sense. So, like, it evolved from what was, like, an adult holiday into, like, the kid culture that we know around the 80s.
Yep. And the issue that a lot of people have now with it is Halloween is pretty much, well, in the perspective of the schools, Halloween is pretty much hated by everyone, and I'll explain what I mean. So, atheists hate it because it's too religious. Protestants hate it because it's
Too Catholic. Catholics hate it because it's too pagan.
Catholics hate it because it's too pagan.
And pagans hate it because it was
it's too Catholic.
Because, I mean, the perspective is, like, based on what traditions you're looking at and how you're acting with it.
So, because you can make a case for any one of these.
They made it a Catholic holiday, and then they could say, well, it was pagan roots. Well, yada, yada. Okay, that makes sense.
So if the school were to go out and support it and be like, hey, you can give out candy to teachers because, it's Halloween, parents would throw a temper tantrum.
Yeah. That's a common thing.
And I do know a lot of parents who don't let their kids do trick-or-treating because it's pagan.
Really?
Yes. I know I can name at least 3 right off the top of my head.
That's terrifying.
Which is like...
Because, like, it's such a cultural thing, I feel like. Okay, there's a difference between religious and cultural celebrations. Now, holidays have become 2 separate things. I'm not religious, but I celebrate Christmas because it's a time of giving and, like, unity with your family.
What it is.
It's just, like, it's meant to be that time. It's the hard part of the winter. We all need to get along. That's how I look at it. Like, cool. I think that's fine. And, like, culturally, I mean, Santa Claus. Like, yes, you have St. Nicholas, but, like, he wasn't wearing red probably until Coca-Cola took that over. Because let's be real. St. Nicholas was what? In, like, Eastern Europe? You're probably not wearing much red out there, I feel like.
It's a lot of green.
It's like a lot of green.
It's where the elves...
Yeah, that's where the elves colors come from. But, like, I feel like, there's a cultural side to things, and there's a religious side to things. And if they become separate entities, you can always celebrate the cultural without getting in trouble if you focus on it.
And I mean, I get it. Schools always have to walk on
eggshells. That fine line.
They always have to do that, and I get it. But it just really sucks. It blows. It's no fun. And I mean, like our school today at lunch, they gave out like Halloween themed like cookies.
Oh yeah, it was the pumpkin cookies.
Yeah, the pumpkin.
So it's
cookies.
Like they were like pumpkin spice flavored kind of.
Yeah, they were good.
They were great, but they were just
really
like
good.
little pumpkin cookies, and I think
fun.
and like that avoids most of the problems. But then again, I mean like jack-o'-lanterns, I guess, have kind of that like folktale rooted.
Oh yeah.
Because so what is it? So Jack was this guy. He was an Irish dude.
There was an Irish guy named Jack, and he was kind of a trickster.
And he was walking in the woods.
Walking in the woods during Hallows Eve or Halloween.
Gotcha.
During the day when the dead and the living.
So there's monsters everywhere.
Yep. So monsters were everywhere, and he came across the devil, and so he being the trickster that he is, he was like, "Hey, devil, I bet I can be better at you than one thing." And the devil's like, "No, you can't." And he's like, "I bet you can't climb that tree." And so the devil's like, "You idiot!" And then he climbed the tree, but Jack carved a cross at the bottom.
So the devil couldn't get down.
The devil couldn't get down because of its, the cross.
You're stuck up there.
And so then the devil was like, "I'll get you, Jack." And Jack was like, "See ya, idiot." And then Jack went up, obviously died because he's mortal. And he went up to heaven, and God was like, "Jack, you're the worst. You pulled pranks on everyone. That wasn't very nice. You're going to hell." And then he got to the devil.
And the devil's like, "I remember you."
The devil was like, "I got a bone to pick with you, feller." And he was like, "I'm not even going to take you into hell. I'm going to banish you to walk the darkness all of eternity." And he gave him an ember. And he said, "You need to use this to guide your way. For if you ever lose it, you will be lost."
And he carved out a turnip.
So Jack got a turnip and carved out a turnip and put the ember
in the turnip. And he cut holes in it so the light would shine through. Cut original jack-o'-lanterns were really turnips. And then I think...
once the Irish got to America...
They used squashes and then pumpkins, right?
They used pumpkins because it's a lot easier to carve a pumpkin
than it is a turnip.
Than a turnip. And they didn't have pumpkins way back when.
Yeah, because the pumpkins are native. They're native to here.
Native Americans. Or native to America.
That's actually kind of interesting.
Yes.
That's a good trip down memory lane from when I learned that a few years ago.
Yeah,
I needed that refresher.
The history of Halloween is very interesting.
It's intricate.
It's very good.
So, like, also with Halloween, I mean, it wouldn't be Halloween without horror films. What are your opinions on horror films?
Okay. I used to not watch horror films for a long time just because I don't know. I just didn't like them.
I mean, understandable. Like, I hated them as a little kid, and we'll get to that.
But I mean, recently I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, which ones have you seen recently?
I've seen Bedeviled. Very scary.
Bedeviled?
Yeah.
Like BED. Eviled?
Yeah.
Bedeviled?
Bedeviled. It's like bedeviled. Bedeviled.
But I feel like that's bedeviled, but all right.
It's very scary. It's kind of frightening.
Okay. What other ones have you seen recently?
Recently, last year I watched The Shining.
Okay, because I know we tried to watch that at one of our get-togets, and then everyone talked the whole time. So I still haven't really seen The Shining.
I've seen The Shining.
That was like regarded as like the
really
scariest movie of like forever.
Really
Everyone was like, that is like the scariest movie for like a decade. Like that was like, everyone was like, Shining, creepiest shit, dude. Like that's what it was known for. Was it as creepy? Did it hold up to that?
Here's the thing, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm just desensitized to it, right, or whatever. Like, a lot of people said it was scary. I wasn't, like, terribly scared by it.
All right.
Maybe it was just, like, generational gap or something.
I guess.
As it came out.
When it came out, yeah.
I
I
mean,
mean, because everyone
still...
thought, like, Thriller by Michael Jackson was a terrifying video. Like, that gave people nightmares.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, even... Gosh.
I've seen both It's. I don't know if you'd consider that a horror movie. Those are kind of like thrillers.
Well, okay, because, yeah, like, there's a difference. Because, okay, I hate horror movies. Mm-hmm. My only horror film, truly a horror film that I've seen, was Halloween. And I watched the original. And I watched that when I was 10 years old with my family on the night before Halloween. So, Halloween's Eve. Hallows Eve, I guess. Yeah, so we watched it because they're like, ooh, it's spooky season, you know, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. We watched it. I had recently watched Toy Story 3, so you need that background for this. We finished the film. I'm like, well, that wasn't that bad. Toy Story 3 was scarier than that. Because, okay, let's be real. That villain in Toy Story 3, Hitler. He's literally Hitler.
I don't remember Toy Story 3.
That's the one where he tries to burn all the toys in the incinerator. Yeah. It's literally a World War II parody. Which sounds terrible to say. But no, I was like, Toy Story 3 was scarier. I go to bed. I proceed to wake up. I can't fall asleep, and I go into my sister's room crying and curl up on her floor next to her and fall asleep at the age of 10. Because, like...
well, you're, like, in 4th grade.
Yeah, like, 3rd, 4th grade. But, like, the thing is, one, I was probably too young to watch that, if we're being honest. 2, horror films like that, where it's, like, slightly supernatural, but not extremely, are, like, scarier to me than, like, an alien movie. Because... when you look at those, it's like, okay, this is a person doing these horrific things. So then it gets really real when you see, like, a shadow in your room. And you're like, oh, I'm fucking dead.
It's like, I lived a good life.
Those give me, like, the most paranoid feelings. Now, 2 movies I do enjoy that are more thriller films, but you can call them horror. Silence of the Lambs.
I haven't seen that, but I really want to.
So good. I honestly,
really
like, okay, it's not a Halloween movie, obviously. But, like, I think it's amazing. So good. Wonderful. Great film. The cinematography is wonderful. The writing's wonderful. Characters wonderful. Acting. Everything about that movie. Love it. Very creepy. Mm-hmm. Very horrific. Very realistic. Now, the other one is basically a B-roll horror film on Netflix. But it's not horror. Like, it's a thriller. Mm-hmm. Would You Rather?
I heard one of our friends talk about this.
It might have...
Shut up.
It was probably me.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't you.
Okay, because I watched it with a few of our friends at a get-together one time, and so here's the thing: the movie's premise is basically the game Would You Rather, but so this girl, her little brother has cancer, and their parents died in a car crash. Okay, so she's taking care of him. She's trying to get another job, and like she can't get hired. She's like, I need the money, and this guy, who's like the doctor, is like talking to her, and he's like, hey, listen, this guy here is from a foundation. He can help you out. And he's a really creepy dude, like how he talks. He's always chewing on peanuts and stuff. It's really weird. And he's just like yeah, I know. And he's chatting. He's like, you know, I have a dinner party. Why don't you come and we can see how I can help your financial situation. And she's like, oh, that sounds nice. Let's do that. And so she goes to the dinner party. And then they like start playing a sick, demented version of Would You Rather, where she's a vegan. So the first thing is like, I'll give you $500 if you eat that steak on your plate. And she's like, well, that goes against it. And everyone's like, that's $500, girl, do it. So she does. And then there's a recovering alcoholic. And he's like, oh, you drink that, you know, Taggart of, I think it was just some sort of booze. $10,000. Dude, like, alcohol ruined this guy's life. And he's like, just chugs it down after, like, some arguing. And then it gets to the point where it's like, okay, they, like, have them held at gunpoint and are, like, hooking, like, the electrical shock machine up to him. And they're like, shock yourself or the person next to you. And if you don't make a decision, they kill you. And
Oh
the
my
last
God.
the last person left standing in the game is the winner, and they get like infinite financial support, yada yada. So spoiler alert, if you plan on watching this movie, don't listen to this next part. Skip like 20 seconds ahead. Basically, she ends up getting out alive because like the doctor realizes he had won the game before, and that's why he like knew the guy. So like he keeps going though and breaks into the house, and like she escapes, and they like kill the bad people, like the Foundation people, and she gets out, and then she goes home, and her brother's dead.
From what?
He killed himself, OD'd on pills. My bad. They didn't kill the bad guy. She was the last person standing, but like they tried to overthrow them, and then they were like, "We can worry about your situation." She goes home, did all that for nothing. Her brother OD'd on pills.
Oh my.
It was so crazy. I love that movie. It's still on Netflix. Last I checked, worth the watch. Honestly, like it really is. It's got some really creepy scenes. Like you got a guy like. His challenge is like firecracker in the hand, but they give him a quarter stick of dynamite to blow up in his hand. He goes into cardiac arrest afterwards, and that's how he dies because his hand got blown off. One guy, they gave him like a razor blade, and he has to cut his own eyeball open.
Oh my!
Like it's gruesome. It's like, but they cut away from a lot of the gore. So like you take Saw, downtone it. Also, Saw movie I need to see, because did you know the premise of the original Saw? The guys didn't have enough budget, so they tried to make the movie in one room, and that's how Saw became a thing. The first one, that whole movie was apparently shot in one room.
A lot of it is. I think I never really
like the chunk of the movie. They have like a bit of preface. I think
I've seen like bits and pieces. I don't know. Saw, a lot of it is just like really gory.
It's like gore porn is like the term that a lot of people use for like movies like that.
Porn.
Yeah, I mean, Final Destination films or other things like that. Okay, movies I hate the most that people associate with Halloween right now. The Purge. I hate the premise. I hate the movies. I tried to watch it.
What's wrong with killing poor people?
No, The Purge isn't about just killing poor people. I mean, the poor people are the least offended.
That's the idea.
It's the least offended.
That's the idea of the Purge.
Like,
to kill poor people.
It's just, I hate it. I hate the movies. They're gruesome. They're gross. It's so sick and twisted because like everyone does the killing. I don't care. Like even if you made it legal, I feel like people still have morals.
If you made everything legal for a night, people would just go to like McDonald's and just steal shit.
I mean, like, yeah, who doesn't want to make chicken? You know what I mean?
I
don't think I'd go around murdering people. Like, no. Jesus. Like, it's just, that is so hard for me to, like, begin to even enjoy. Like, I can't. But no, so, like, horror movie-wise, I'm not a huge horror guy. I mean, I love, like, the concept. Like, I love Dead by Daylight. I played that for a bit, the game about all the horror characters.
Oh, that one? Yeah.
Yeah, like, I like the concept, and, like, I want to see it, I feel like the two It films.
It 1 and 2 are they're both very good. They're not...
I know it, like, apparently diverged from the book. I haven't read the book, but I've read synopsises of, like,
I don't
the film and the
know.
book.
I wouldn't say there's... I don't know. Because I've seen them with friends, and I know a couple people thought it was scary. I think they're more thriller.
I know what you're saying.
They're both very good, regardless of what you think about them. I don't know. They're both great.
I forgot another horror film I watched. I think it's Conjuring. Mm-hmm. I want to say is the one. That one. It's movies like that where I get through them a lot of the time by making really bad, funny commentary the whole time while I'm watching it. It's like if you're watching a horror movie with me, I probably will talk a lot because it's my way of coping with like the fear. Because like that film, like it's a little creepy, but I also don't believe in like the devil. So, you know, getting possessed by a demon doesn't really worry me. But like, she gets like falls like through 3 stories of like behind like in the boarding of the house, and I'm like, oh, bitch tripped. Like, like I just make jokes like that. Like, she like tries to bite a guy's face, and I was like, ooh, kinky. Like I just say things that like help me get through.
That's good. I like that.
So like that's my way of coping with like horror films. But now, other Halloween movies that aren't horror films, those are my jam. Like I'm not a huge Nightmare Before Christmas guy. I like it. I'll watch it with you. But movie I watched just 2 years ago for the first time, Corpse Bride. That is a fire film.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I've never really like seen it.
It's worth the watch. I know like some people like joke, but like a lot of people like Frankenweenie or whatever. What is it? There's like the Paranorman.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Paranorman. I mean, even like movies that you wouldn't normally associate with Halloween, but like I kind of do. Like I'll watch the Harry Potter films around Halloween.
What is? Oh man.
Halloween Town.
No, I'm thinking of a movie.
Hocus Pocus, Beetlejuice.
No. It starts with a Claire. Claremont. Claire. Oh my god. Clementine. No.
Coraline.
That's it.
Coraline is amazing.
That's a good dude. That shit was kind
I
of.
watched it for the first time with my friends.
That shit's kind of scary.
Less than a year ago. Like I didn't even watch it on Halloween. That movie.
It's unsettling.
It's so unsettling. I know people who look like fake Mother too.
I didn't really understand it for the most part, and I remember like in the last kind of final act, like she like there was something about a door, and then she enters it, and it's like into a different dimension or something like that, and it's like the knitting dimension or something.
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
it's like the fake mother.
Yeah, the fake mother, and then like she walks into it, and immediately she sees like her friend who's like knitting his like eyes or buttons or something.
Yeah, and he has his mouth sewn shut because her problem with him was he always talked a lot. So it was like this dream world, but really it was a nightmare for her. Like by the end of the film, it's a great like analogy for just like, don't wish for too like you'll get what you wish for. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's not always going to be exactly what you thought you wanted. It's a really good like lesson teaching film. Also, just like really creepy and unsettling in all the right ways. What are other films? Halloween Town, by the way, great movies. Mm-hmm. Love them. Been a long time since I've seen any of them. I've never seen Beetlejuice all the way through. Not seen Hocus Pocus all the way through, which I know like a lot of people love Hocus Pocus. I'm trying to think like what are some like other great Halloween films to like recommend to people. Like if we're talking horror films, one we missed, Jaws. Haven't seen it.
I've never seen Jaws.
Haven't seen it, but it's one that like gets such high praise, and I feel like I need to, even like if I think it's gonna be overhyped. Like going in, I just need low expectations because like it's a period time. It's like a time period movie. Like I also was scared of sharks as a little kid, so that's why I didn't want to watch it.
Sharks are cool.
Dude, I wrote so the young authors thing that we used to do like when we were younger. So we had to like write a book basically about a topic. I did my first grade book over sharks, and I did a whole entire book about them.
Yeah, I like sharks. Sharks are pretty dope.
But now, like, what are other? Do you have any movies that you watch around Halloween like every year?
I don't. I just kind of like watch really whatever's in theaters.
Fair enough.
Like this year, I didn't really see any like horror movies. It's Joker.
I mean, Joker's a thriller. I'd give Joker a thriller category though.
Joker's definitely a thriller. It was really
Joker is worth the watch if you guys haven't seen it. Just saying.
I mean, I think everyone's seen Joker at this point.
I mean, I hope so. Especially if you're wasting. If you're spending your time listening to our podcast, I would rather you go see Joker than listen to this podcast right now.
So good.
As terrible as it is for self-promotion, go see Joker.
Yeah. Joker's very good.
It is worth every penny, worth your time. I've seen it twice. The movie is both demented and beautiful, and the cinematography and the score and the acting, like everything about that film just is so perfect. And you know it's bad. You know exactly did your whole entire theater laugh during the one scene with the short guy?
Yes.
My whole theater laughed both times.
Yeah.
Not trying to spoil that for you guys.
No, they won't. That's a minor spoiler, but not really.
Dude, my whole entire theater laughed, and we all felt guilty right afterwards.
No, but that was the point.
Like, that movie, like, it's a comedy thriller with the grossest of societal intent. It's mind-boggling.
There's a couple funny parts to it.
That are meant to be.
Yeah.
I forgot to clock out, or punch out. That one's good. Like, things like that. There's, like, a lot of one-liners you'll hear in the movie. And I feel like that's, like, the beauty of, like, that kind of genre. Because, speaking of which, horror movie, actually, that I saw last year, I guess. Was it Us? Was that the name of the movie? I think so. It's the one where you have, like, your tethered self. That movie was amazing, but it was so funny. Have you seen that one?
I've not, but I've heard.
So there's a whole scene where it's like the tethered version of them. So it's like the four people that are like the family are outside their house and it's just standing in the driveway. And this suburban black dad, he's like, "I got this, honey," and he walks out with a metal baseball bat. And he's like, trying to act gangster. He's like, "I'm gonna have to ask y'all to leave," and like he starts hitting his baseball bat against his hand. He's like, "Did you hear me?" And he starts taking a step forward, and then you see one of the kids drop onto all fours and jump into a tree, and he goes, "Oh, hell no." And, like, and it's just, like, things like that. Like, horror and comedy are so intertwined in the weirdest ways because we have a similar reaction because of how visceral I think they are. We went on a whole movie tangent here.
Yeah,
but
we did. This was like a good 14, 15
minutes of just movies.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, do you have anything else to say about Halloween?
I do not. I mean, I feel like we hit all the major points.
I love it. I hope you guys love it. Signing off. See you guys.
Have a good Halloween.
Happy Halloween.